Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales. And today, my guest is Christian. Thank you so much, Christian, for joining and being my guest today. How are you?
Hi, Mariam. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very good. And you?
I am good. Well, thank you so much again. And maybe we can start from a little introduction about who you are and anything that would be valuable for our audience.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Christian. I am a full stack developer and I help companies to do digital products, mostly in the development part, but I do also some UX design, also some DevOps, automated testing, and so on. Working as a freelancer now, mostly for German companies. And that's what I do and love.
Awesome. Okay, I think you are deep in digital transformation generally when you are specifically the person that is handling the technical side of it.
Yeah, exactly. I have been working in this since almost, I think, 10 years for different companies. And yeah, it's a very interesting topic since I'm doing that.
Amazing. Okay, let's start from the general question. What is digital transformation for you and how you see it?
Digital transformation is how you make use of digital tools to transform your business. And it can be from the processes to the business model, how you can open new markets, everything what the digital tools can give you to improve your current business.
And when saying that it is improving the processes, let's say, usually people are saying, yeah, it's kind of like the automation of the process. Do you think it's only automation or it's even more than that?
No, it's even more than that. Also, one important part that we often forget, but is also have a big weight is how the people feel in the processes.
Yes.
So you automate, but now we have the problem in our generation that we are improving productivity a lot, but not income often for the employees, and they don't feel as good as before. And you see it now with the statistics of the amount of burnouts, unwell feeling, and so on. So also it can improve and should improve how the people feel. And automation is a very small example of it, I think, because it has the biggest monetary input for the companies. But in the long term, there are other things that are also very important.
And when we are speaking about these processes or like the stages, do you think that we can differentiate some phases for digital transformation based on your experience? Anything that can be suggested to companies as phases for digital transformation?
Phases for digital transformation. Yeah, I think we can differentiate. For sure, there are companies in which this digital transformation is not happening. So you have the different phases, for example, in this case, where you have a proof of concept, for example, of a new digital tool. That can be one phase I can imagine. And it's the early stage of a process to be able to recognize if these digital tools can help you to improve. Then after that, you can go into the first MVP, minimal viable product. Of course, it's not everything a product. It can be just a tool that help you automate. I don't know what will be the name for that, but that will be next phase. Then after that, you will have the maturity phase in which you are maturing the product.
Yeah.
But you have that also different phases. You have the early phases where you are just still see if there is a market fit in case if you have a market or to fill with the product, or if you are doing internally, you can see if the is really helping the people or not. And then after that, you have a more mature project. But also something I'm forgetting, actually often my customers always forget, is the early phases or the exploration phases.
Yeah.
And is before anything exists. For example, when I go to a customer, I do these exploration phases. I learned it from a past employee of me that they were an IT consultant, and they realized how important it is. And now me as a freelancer, I recognize it. And it's to go to the customers and recognize what is the real problem, and you should invest time on that. Also, now for sure is there's something that's called service design that is happening a lot before you have a digital product, and this is very important, and it's also a phase of digital transformation that will tell you actually maybe you don't need a digital tool to improve this.
Agree. And when we are differentiating these phases, do you think for one company, let's say, is there any guide or any suggestion that you would give in order to understand which part can be actually digitalized? Like, is there any approach or like any analytical way that can help actually the companies to understand where they should start from the digital?
Yeah, I can imagine, for example, I would use a method that is normally used in UX design, but you can apply to this, and it's called the red roots diagram.
Mhm.
So it's a diagram in two axes. In one axis, you know, you have how many users use an application, and in the other
Mhm.
axis, is how often. And if you take this diagram and put it in your company, how many employees or how many customers do something and how often, you will have very quickly in the top right corner an area in which you should focus, because this is
Yeah.
will have the biggest input. So what I do normally for this is very helpful to prioritizing which features do you want to
Mhm.
develop is you go to this corner, then take out of this and all these topics you will have, I don't know, let's say 5 topics. Then you put it in a second diagram where you put effort against benefit. And then
Yeah.
you will have
Yeah.
a very good prioritization on where you should focus. And if a digital tool will help you for that.
Okay, that's really interesting approach actually, and I like that you brought the example from other field that is about product management and the approach that can be taken from different fields just to understand basically the part of what can be actually improved or what can be digitalized if it is a process or integration of the tool, etc. And what do you think about the major challenges? Do you think there are any common challenges that we have in companies that need digital transformation? Anything that is like, okay, I know that this is common case with these kind of companies.
I think it's difficult to find a pattern, but I can tell you some examples.
Mhm.
The first thing is trying to solve a problem that is not solvable with a tool, like improving the processes. You see that often, especially in this exploration
Yeah.
phase I told you before. Another thing is losing the focus on what you want to improve. And, when you have a new product, you say, oh, let's add this, add this,
Yeah.
add this, and so on. So that's why I try to focus on really what gives the biggest benefit at the beginning. And then after that,
Mhm.
working on that. Other thing is not being aware of the price of good quality software, because there's a
Mhm.
huge difference between good quality and bad quality software. And the good quality software is expensive because the impact it has. Like, for example, I
Yeah.
worked before in many projects in which my main task was to rebuild products that were made in a bad way, because they say, oh, let's say
Mhm.
fast, fast, fast. I don't care. I just want to prove the concept. Nowadays, it's not necessary anymore. Nowadays, there are tools that allow you to be very fast at the beginning and
Yeah.
also be able to scale into millions of users without needing to rebuild that. So that's another thing. Other challenge is not being able to choose the right people
Mhm.
to help you with that. I always compare it like, imagine you want to build a house and you say, I just want a house with a nice living room and a kitchen. And the person say, oh yeah, sure, let's do it. Then they come after 1 month, here, you have your house. Then you open the house, is there what you wanted? And you say, hey, where is the toilet? I say, I don't know. You didn't mention you wanted a toilet.
Yeah. This was just a bedroom.
And then they say, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, we will do it. Then they do it. And they say, oh, but now you break the living room while doing the toilet. I say, oh,
Mhm.
sorry, we made the house out of paper. It looks the same for you, right? I say, no, I
Mhm.
wanted a house that was made with bricks. But the people only say the facade when they have the
Yeah.
software, for example. They see the features they wanted with the user interface, but they don't see what is behind. And
Mhm.
there is a limit in which everything can go very well or very bad. And if you didn't build
Mhm.
it with experience in mind and how to do it in mind from the beginning, then it's going to break in the future. Other thing,
Mhm.
for example, that comes to my mind is when someone wants to do a new digital tool, they don't think about testing, automated testing, for
Yeah.
example. And they say, oh no, it's an MVP, we don't need that. Start
Mhm.
growing. And if you don't do tests from day one, you will never remember why you did the things how you did it, and it's too
Mhm.
late later. You say, yeah, sure, later you can add it, but you don't forget this line of code, why
Yeah.
you should test it, why you did it like this, and in the future it's going to be broken because you cannot test in the future everything by hand, and this is going to break your project in the future, and that's a big difference between cheap solutions and expensive solutions and the impact it has at the end.
Yeah, agree. And the example with building the house, I think it's also very common. Though you mentioned like people, like the certified people or experienced people that can actually help with digital transformation. I think it's also about the experience that these people have. And generally, if you are even like going to any company or agency that can support with digital transformation, I think it's very important to look through their portfolio to see if they have the appropriate experience, and make sure that they are also suggesting stuff. The same with going with these people that were building the room, right? They could actually suggest, hey, maybe you need also a bathroom besides this bedroom, right? So I think this is also very important when you're, like, as you said, selecting maybe an expensive service or a tool that can help you, but at least you know that you will not have additional costs later, as with like just rebuilding the room because of bathroom. And you also mentioned having these experienced people in general, like the people that should be included. Do you think it's important to have the certified experienced less people, or have more people just like juniors, and saving maybe like several, I don't know, like some money on that you are including juniors instead of experienced people that can actually help you faster?
It's a difficult question, especially because the most difficult is with service providers in general. You will never know if you pay more, you will get a better service. There is no way to compare if a service provider is good or bad. The people say, "Oh, let's
Yeah,
take some references." Everyone have good references if they have some years of experience,
of course.
but it doesn't mean that these good references that your friends recommend you is going also to apply with you, especially because the people also behave differently in different conditions, different environments, and so on. So that's very complicated. And you mentioned, for example, certified. I have also mixed feelings about certifications or not, because from one side they prove someone put the effort into being certified. From the other side, I think it's also a business of big providers that just want to sell certifications and so on. But for me, what I can tell you how you can choose who to work with is a mindset over all other things. You realize that when you are talking to the people, which kind of mindset is that, if you're speaking with someone for 10, 20 minutes, and with any relationship in your life, can be friendship, can you love relationships or work relationships, you always need three things in life: compatibility, chemistry, and the right timing. And you will need to have this also while working with someone. You need to say, they're compatible, thinking rationally with who I am, how I'm going to work, and so on. Is there a chemistry in this relationship? Do I feel good working with this person? And is this person in a good timing in their life, and I am in a good timing in which we can work together? Because if a person has, I don't know, another job or 100 other projects or so on, it's a bad timing. And if you have these three ingredients, normally you can be able to succeed with any service provider. And the level of experience to choose, if it's a junior or a more experienced person, I would start always a project with an experienced person, because when you build something from the beginning, if you don't take the right decisions, to change it later is going to be very expensive. And then juniors, I think, is good for them and for the companies to learn from something that is already existing. Because also for a junior person, if you start with them at the beginning, it's very frustrating when they cannot come forward and they don't have anyone to ask. So that's how I would do it.
Yeah, agree, definitely. Having all these experienced people generally, and you mentioned about the technologies and tools, are there any specific tools or like technical solutions that you will suggest to anyone that is interested in digital transformation, any platform that is actually helping with digitalizing process?
Yeah, the problem now we have in the tech world is decision fatigue, decision paralysis also. There are so many new tools, and we are in a limit in which we don't know if this highly technical solution is better than the pre-made or low code or no code solutions. And for me, it's also often very difficult to decide. When I go to these exploration phases with the customers, I choose with them together what is the right tool for that. The good thing is now, we in the past 2 3 years, I focus mostly in web applications, so I can tell you mostly
Yeah.
regarding sport, but also mobile is happening a lot. Also, there is a shift in how things are being built, and it allow us to build much faster. Like before, they always have, for example, in the case of digital products, the differentiation: I need a backend, I need a front end, and I need an API in between. And there's still a lot of companies who are starting new projects with this. And I think 90% of the projects, you don't need that anymore, because in the world, in the most new front end frameworks, they're doing something that's called server side rendering, in which in the server you are going to be able to produce the front end you send to the client. So I would say nowadays you do client and server differentiation, front end and back end anymore. And that will save you all the effort to create an API and to have two types of languages, I don't know, Python and JavaScript in the front end. And with that, we are going to be able now to work much faster because we are saving a lot of effort,
Mhm.
and it will work and it will scale very well. There's a, like, for example, Shopify now bought Remix. It's called
Yeah.
now React Router, and they are using it in their company because it allow them to build much faster.
Mhm.
So this is a tool, for example, I would recommend, like, stop doing back and front end and API in between. Go server side rendering. Use Nest or React in the Nest of Next or React Router in the front end, and
Mhm.
just talk to the database more or less from the front end. It's wrong to say it like that, but so
Yeah.
that people understand me. And that's something I would recommend to people.
Interesting. And I think we can't escape actually this question. What do you think about AI and if it is really helping or disturbing when we are speaking about digital transformation?
It's like a knife. You can use it for cooking or for killing. It's up to you. I was speaking
Mhm.
the other day with a friend that I realized a couple of weeks ago how much AI transformed my work already.
Mhm.
Other people,
Mhm.
there's this hype. Oh, we need to do it. We need to do it. But like nowadays, like it's long time that I don't Google something. I Google if I need something that is in an external website. But if I
Mhm.
want just information, I use AI, Perplexity, ChatGPT, or whatever. For coding, I use it like a
Mhm.
lot. I cannot imagine myself without doing that. For taking decisions, it's not that it takes decisions for me, but it gives me a good background to take decisions.
Suggestion.
I think in that sense it's helping a lot. When I'm
Mhm.
stuck in something, it's not giving me the solution, but it's helping me to achieve the solution. And in that sense, in my specific case, because I also like to use the newest tools and try everything, and I'm a little
Mhm.
bit like to take the risk and say, yeah, there's this new tech, do it. It's
Mhm.
helping me a lot. But I know there are some cases in which there is this hype and is disturbing a lot, especially in this whole new area of vibe coding. There's these new
Yeah.
people doing applications very fast, then releasing them, and the people just see an application that, again, the same case of this house that is made out of paper. And
Mhm.
how many people are there giving their emails and passwords to these applications that are leaking all the data after?
Mhm.
And how many people are having the same password for all their
Yeah.
applications? So for the people listening to this, remember to have a password manager and never put the same password in the applications, because nowadays you don't know what is behind. It looks
Mhm.
fancy, but it doesn't mean that it's fancy in the back. And you are giving your data for free. And be careful
Yeah.
with that, because yeah, that case is creating a lot of problems.
That's so good you mentioned about these platforms that are helping even with like the front end side of like building the web page or like, yeah, the product as people like to call it. We just had today a meeting with potential client and he was like, well, got already an offer from other company that said that they will do this, I think in 10 hours, like the front end of the website. I was like, how they are going to do that? And he was like, well, they will use this like website that is building the front. I'm like, yeah, that's just a promise that they are doing, but actually it will not work as it is for many reasons. They're starting from security and ending with like how they are connecting stuff together.
Yeah, yeah, I have also the same feeling. I was building a couple of weeks ago. I started a new project, so I wanted to try to do the UIs. So I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about AI, that is a new agent for making software, and I wanted to build the
Prototype, let's say.
no, 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 yeah, the UI. Like, it's not was a prototype project. So I say the AI, hey, can you build it for me? And I build it. But then the time I lose trying to fix all the things they do, and I
Mm-hmm.
create a new prompt to fix
Yeah.
it and so on, and to find again in the code why was it like that, and then I realized this is not what I was thinking. So
Mm-hmm.
that cost me more time. And right now I'm struggling always when I want to code something new is what cost me more time, to write it
Yeah.
myself in a prompt or to write
Mm-hmm.
it as code. And
Yeah.
we are in this part of technology, in this level of technology nowadays, where I don't know what is faster. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always switching from one approach to the other and see what is working better.
Yeah, I think it's all about the balance because I wouldn't say that it's not helping us. Of course, as you mentioned, like it's just a knife and it matters how you are using it. If you are using it properly, you can cut a great cake of it. But if you are using it wrongly, you can just, yeah, you can just mix everything up. So awesome. Well,
Yeah.
one more thing about the advice. So what advice would you offer to other companies? So let's say individuals to take into account when they would like to start digital transformation. Is there anything specific that they need to take into account?
Yeah, first focus in the problem, see where is the problem. Then forget about the tool idea you had that is amazing and so on. Of course, we get in love with ideas very easily. But see how can you solve this problem independent of how you have it. And then do start like from a good basis. Don't start from the idea I want to do this, I want to do it now, no, no, no.
Mhm.
Focus on the basis what I just told you I did in this exploration phase. And then based on that, look for someone who is good. What I already give you some hints how you can find someone where still difficult. I don't know how to find a source of where these good people are or not because it's also depending on many factors. So I cannot tell you. And then do it slowly. And it takes what it
Mhm.
takes. Don't rush because people are always, oh, I need to give it to the market and so on. Yeah, but if you go to the market with a wrong idea or something that's not
Yeah.
working well, then you are going to damage your market and the people are going to lose trust. And this is going to take
Mhm.
a lot of time. So relax,
Yeah.
take your time. I know time to market is a very important KPI, always more. But I say there's no good ideas. There is good implementation of ideas.
Yes.
We still
Agree.
have this mentality of 40 years ago of patents. You have a great
Mhm.
idea, you have a patent, and then you are rich. Nowadays, you can like the richest products is very difficult to patent because to break a patent is
Mhm.
very easy nowadays, especially in the digital world. So there's no patents anymore. And so what has a big USP is the right implementation. Because
Yes.
as I heard in a conference the other day, the world is full of bad software.
Mhm.
So if you do it right, you have a lot of opportunities.
Agree. Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Christian. Anything as a conclusion to our discussion in our episode? Do you you would like to add to this? Yeah, to this ending.
Yeah, maybe don't forget about people. Digital transformation is a tool, but the people behind is important. And do things that help people, not damage them.
Yeah,
And if you do that, then you are going to be successful.
amazing. Well, very well said. Well, thank you so much, Christian, for being my guest today and sharing your experience of digital transformation with us.
Thank you also for allowing me to be here. And it was a pleasure.